Hi, Nora Anwa here, somatic psychotherapist, social justice educator, here to provide resources to everyone. What an exhausting couple of weeks. I've been sweating, I've been crying, I've been tired, I've been exhausted, and it continues. And so as it continues, I want us to talk about this piece of how do we be sustainable? My friends Tasha and Christina reminded me of this. They reminded me of how do we keep going so this does not become just this week, last week, this month, but that it actually becomes part of it all. So let's talk about something. What's privilege? What's oppression? Really, in a nutshell, oppression is this thing where we give and we give and we give. Yes. As Black, Indigenous folks of color, we have learned that we need to give in order to receive. We need to give our souls in order to receive. And we often don't feel worthy of receiving something until we have worked so hard that we're on the floor, just. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how do we care for ourselves? How do we rest? And more importantly, how do we start setting boundaries? When we talk about boundaries, sometimes we have this misconception that they are static, that they don't change. But we love fluidity, and fluidity means that we get to change. So how do you get to have different boundaries every day? I know sometimes for myself as a psychotherapist, my number one priority is to show up for my clients. So it's important for me that I say no. Sometimes I can't see a friend. I can't do this favor. Just gotta say no. And that no is not always easy to access. And so how do we find that no of, hey, reminding ourselves that we deserve this, and if we want this change, we are wanting this movement to keep happening, we gotta find our no. For those of you in privileged identity, specifically right now as white folks, look at all the ways you've been receiving. Look at all the ways that you've just been receiving. Just think of your business. Your business. You've always been receiving people giving you money for your business. Right now, there's this beautiful thing happening where, yes, a lot of Black-owned businesses are finally being rewarded. But let that not just be right now. Let that not just be right now. Great, check, I did it, moving on. How can you remind yourself to do this? Again, this key word, sustainable. How are you going to make sure that this is sustainable, that it's not just right now that you donate, it's not right now that you went 10 times to this protest, but what are you going to be doing in the next month, in the next year? What are actual strategies you're going to be implementing? Because it actually doesn't take that much time to carve out a few hours to go on the streets or take 2 minutes to donate. It takes much more time and effort to actually invest and look into how am I going to be an anti-racist. So, looking at who you are you giving? Are you receiving too much? Where are you needing to set boundaries if you are giving too much? It is so important. Love to know where you're going to cut down. Where are you going to rest? And for those of you who are not giving enough, how are you going to give? What is your strategic, sustainable plan around it? Looking forward to hearing from you. Wishing you a lot of sustainable action.